Hello. Is this thing on? Is it on? Testing 1, 2. Do we have signal? Good. Is it red light on? Is it red light? There it is. All right, everybody, if I could, why don't we get this party started? If you want to grab some coffee, we have snacks in the back, there's water. Make yourself comfortable, come have a seat. Hello and welcome to our second parent and student workshop. I know you're thinking, whoa, that's a lot, that's commanding. Okay, that'll get everyone's attention. I know what you're thinking right now. This is not Chris Colangelo. You are right, my name is Ethan Mathis. There's a lot that's went into tonight. It was a lot of hard work, and for that reason, Chris has said he won't be here tonight. You can laugh. He told me that joke was okay. All right, but in all reality, I'm very excited to be here with you guys tonight. I'm very excited for our speakers. This is something that I'm sure has affected all of us as parents, as people in student ministries. We all know somebody that has been affected by mental health, and so we are so excited for the content that we'll have tonight. We have world-class speakers, and it's going to be a great, great time. Before we get too far into it and bog you down with a bunch of information, I want to give a couple quick announcements about some things that are coming up while I have your attention and it's fresh. First, June 4th, we have our lawn party. Okay, it's going to be here at the Village campus, and it's going to be great. We're going to have a rummage sale. We are going to have some vendors. We're going to have, I've heard, some food trucks. All of the proceeds will go to helping fund our summer trip. So put it on your calendars. If you want to participate, come hang out. It's going to be a great time. If you want to get involved, there's a lot of things we can use, a lot of spaces that you can help. Contact myself or Louisa or Chris Colangelo or Luke Dozier if you're at King, and we'd love to plug you in and get you involved. Next is we have started at some of our campuses some different programming rhythms. If you're at the Village campus, then the first Wednesday of every month, our students are meeting in home groups with families that have opened up their homes for their middle school boys and high school boys and middle school girls and high school girls. And we would encourage you, those are the first Wednesdays of every month, to send your students. This is a great time for them to connect with their small group leaders, to connect with the people in their small groups. And what we really, really want to do is to give them a space that they can build really deep and fun community with their friends and their leaders here at church. At other campuses, that looks a little bit different. I know at Kernersville, ours isn't on the first Wednesday. It's kind of scattered throughout the month as students are available. But if you're at the Village, put that on your calendar. If you're at other campuses, watch for those texts from your leaders. And really, we would love for you to make that a priority for your students. So without further ado, I'm going to pray for us. I'm going to hand it over to Chris Lawson. He's going to introduce our panel, and then we're going to have a great, great time tonight. Heavenly Father, just bless our time tonight. God, we thank you for all of the things that you have done to orchestrate this event. God, we thank you for the speakers that have given their evening, that have prepared something for us, God. And we just pray that all of our parents and our students here will glean from their wisdom and their years and years of experience. Bless our time tonight, God. May you be with us. May your Spirit move among us in this topic. We just pray these things in your name. Amen. Chris?
Newly ordained Pastor Ethan Mathis. Well, thank you, sir. So thankful for you being here tonight. We have many people who are unable to come, so we are taping it and we'll make it available hopefully in the next couple of days for everybody. But we are committed as a church to having hard conversations about hard things, because we believe that all truth is God's truth, and so we want to be a place that is rooted in truth and has conversations with you as parents, makes resources available to our community, and is having those conversations with our kids. I think that one of the things that I continue to believe deeply is that from the very moment we are given children, we begin to bless their identity, right? The very first thing we do is we call them a boy or we call them a girl and bless their identity. And for the rest of their life, the devil tries to steal their identity. And so we're going to be a countercurrent to what the world's trying to do to our kids. And so if you missed our first parenting seminar, which happened in February, that was Pastor Allen and Pastor Brandon from our Clemens campus, where they talked about God's beautiful design for our sexuality. Please go to our YouTube channel and you can watch it there. And this is the second of what will be 3 this year that we're having. So make sure you just pay attention to that. We'll continue to find the right rhythm for when it should happen. And I was reminded by my wife today that, it's May. I was like, yeah. She said, remember how for 25 years of ministry you said May's busier than December? Thanks for putting a parenting seminar in the middle of that. So we'll continue to make it available in a variety of ways for people who are unable to be here tonight. But we're thankful that you're here. We'll bring the students in at 7 o'clock, I think. So when we first came up with this idea, and when I was talking to Chris Coangelo about it, you need someone with discernment and maturity who's able to navigate the hard conversations that we're going to have in this room tonight about the way in which God wants us to have minds that are healthy. And so the first person who came to mind for me was Pastor Eric Shipton. And so if you don't know Eric serves as our assistant pastor at the Kernersville campus, and he's one of the highest capacity leaders I've ever met. You're going to enjoy tonight getting to know him. So Eric, I'll turn it over to you now. Welcome him. He's very nice.
$3 for the class, whoever claps the loudest. See Chris Lawson after. I'm going to go ahead and welcome the panelists to come on up. We're going to be on stage here talking to you guys tonight about mental health in our students. Raise your hand if you have at least one child. Raise your hand if you've ever been a child. 2 children, keep your hand up. 3 children. 4 children. 5 children. Aha. I have 6. I got you all beat. So just checking. If you said you had 6, I was going to say challenge accepted and go for 7. But since you stopped at 5, I can stay at 6. I am Eric Shipton. I'm a pastor here on staff at Renota Church, and I'm excited to be with you guys tonight because tonight's going to be a place where you can explore what it means to enter into the world of your children in the space of mental health. We're going to be talking about questions that your students are facing every single day with some leading experts that are part of the Renota Faith family. And so let's start with Carlton. Would you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Carlton Irving. I am a counselor in Kernersville. I have been counseling teens and families and kids and adults and marriages for almost 12 years. I'm also a father to 3 kids, attend the Kernersville campus, and yeah, that's me.
Carlton, if you had to give us 3 words on the topic of mental health in our students, what would they be?
Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today. 3 single words can be.
Yeah, I mean, we're very rigid. Okay. No grace here.
I guess I would just encourage us as parents in our relationship with the Lord, and to do your own work, as we like to say in this counseling world. The more we take care of ourselves, I think the better people, the better parents we're going to be. And I think the other 2 things I might say is listening and relationships. So listening to our kids is just a huge thing. It just really provides space for them to grow and develop, and then really growing your relationship with your kids is a huge piece too. So those would be my encouragements.
Those are great encouragements. Give us 30 seconds on your children and your family.
So my family is run by my wife, if anyone knows my wife.
True statement.
So she gets all the credit. I have a 16-year-old sophomore at Adkins High School, a sixth grader, 12-year-old. She's at Haynes Middle School, and a second grader who's 7 at Caleb's Creek Elementary. So we got them spread out, and they're all 3 a blessing and healthy, and we're grateful for them all.
Thank you for that. We're so glad that you're here, and we look forward to the life you're going to bring into this conversation. Our next panelist is Jackie. Jackie, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. See, she's so good. See, I got her to say hello, Amadi. Her husband's out here, and her kids come here, and we're good friends. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and your practice and anything else we need to know.
My name is Jacqueline Vasquez, and I've been a counselor since 2017. My husband and I do the Hispanic ministry here at Renolda. I do counseling with teens, adults. I do a lot of depression, anxiety, panic, trauma, addiction, and marriage counseling.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about your family in the sense of where your kids are and what they're up to and things like that.
My oldest baby is in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And that's making me slightly crazy. My middle son will be going to the beach on Thursday, so that's 2 children having overnight trips, first for me. My daughter is 9, and she ain't going nowhere.
She's excited about that. Yeah. Absolutely. So if you had to give us 3 words, and Carlton kind of used like sentences, but we're going to hold you to 3 words.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. What would you say are the wisdom around mental health in just kind of 3 short statements?
Yeah, God made emotions.
God made emotions. See,
That's
it is
it.
possible, Carlton.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that to expand.
Yeah.
So I think that we are involved in the pursuit of happiness. That's a very big value for us here in the United States. And sometimes we don't know how to validate other emotions as well as we do happiness. But I like to remind my parents, my clients, myself, that God made all of the emotions and they are each valid in their time.
So powerful. So God made emotions. Wow. Okay. Sorry, Carlton. I couldn't resist, buddy. So our third panelist, and last but not least, is Lynn. Lynn, tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice.
Well, I don't have a practice, but I'm Lynn Barkley Brewer. I have 4 sons, 2 stepsons, and 2 sons that I birthed. And they are 32, 33, 45, and 42. And then I have 4 grandchildren who are 11, 2 are 11. I have 2 boy-girl sets of boy-girl twins for each of the older 2 sons. So my husband of 30 years passed away from a heart attack in 2009, and my husband now, his wife died 3 months before my husband did, and we were friends, and then about 1.5 years later we got married and have been married for 12 years. So.
Wow. So when we think about student mental health, what would be your 3 words of wisdom to start us off with, or 3 statements?
I put pieces of wisdom. I wasn't thinking words, but
That's great.
7 have already been said, so we're good. But I think beyond our own, working on our relationship with Jesus, your marriage, if you're married or if you're single, to make sure those relationships, those primary relationships, are really healthy. Because just like in an airplane, you know, they say put the oxygen over your mouth first, make sure you're breathing, and then to the child that's next to you. I think mental health is the same way. We can't help others if we're not healthy ourselves. And love your kids. If I only had 3 words, hug them, tell them, spend time with them, laugh with them, play with them, but love their socks off, because we can do that. And depend on the Lord to help you.
Wow, so powerful. So love their socks off.
Yeah.
We'll grant you the fourth word. That's a great statement. So God made emotions and loved their socks off. And then putting it all together, Carlton, into all of those things that we as parents and grandparents and siblings and all the family dynamics that go into that to help the students and children that we have the best mental health that we can. The first question is going to come to you tonight. Are you ready for it?
Yes.
All right. So when we talk about a value system, our desire is to help students live and set priorities in life. So how do you recommend that we as parents direct our students to think about values with so many other voices and inputs that bombard them every single day?
Yeah, so that question makes me think about the way kids' brains develop. And I think one of the greatest gifts we can give a kid or a teenager is to really listen. And so your question says kind of like direct, and I might change it to, I don't know, something around the listening kind of way. Because if we can really, really listen to a kid, this front part of their brain develops in powerful ways. And God made it to develop that way, I think. So, and some of the research backs that up. But by the way, I'm just a parent just like you guys and trying to figure this out. So anything I say is totally open for discussion and conversation afterward. But some of the things I've learned from doing this work for 10 or 12 years is that kids can really develop, and they're a lot of times smarter than we give them credit for. And so just really holding some space for their brain to develop, for them to hear what they're saying. I can't tell you how many times I listen to a kid and just reflect back what they're saying to me, and all of a sudden God starts to change it, and God starts to mold it and develop it, and those values start to kind of come out naturally. That God's already planted those seeds, and so they just start to come out that way. So that's kind of where my brain goes when you ask that question.
That's a great response. And so what does it mean to listen to our kids?
I think that's where we have to do our own work, because if y'all are like most of us parents, we have so much, whether it's a fear or an anxiety or so much wisdom that we think we have that we want to impart, and we want to keep them from falling off the bike, because we know if they just ride it this way, we've already gone down that road, and it'll protect them, and we have this heart to protect them. So to really listen really well, I think really involves trust in the Lord with those anxieties and those fears that I have, so that I can allow some space for my child to develop and have that conversation. And with that trusting relationship, I think is important there too. So, yeah, and there's all kind of listening skills that are really helpful. I won't get into all that tonight, but yeah, listening well is an art and a skill, but it can be developed, and it depends on the kid, depends on the relationship.
Yet, as a parent with 6 kids who I have 2 ears and 1 mouth, but I use them in opposite proportion, when is the appropriate time to speak? Because that's what I want to know. Like, I'm listening, I hear it, but I do have some things I want them to know. How do I speak to them in a way that they'll hear me above their friend in class or, the latest meme on the internet?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think that's in your question, is so that they'll hear me. Like, how do you know when they're listening, right? So a lot of kids' brains are designed naturally, especially when they're little, for them first, right? And so I think if we listen really, really well, and sometimes it takes longer for some kids than others, depending on what traumas they've been through, depending on what upbringing they've had. I work with a lot of kids who don't have parents or are separated from their parents and things like that. And even them, like if you listen long enough, eventually God just kind of opens the door, and you'll know when it's time, because sometimes they'll even ask you. But I have this like skeptical part of me that even when they ask, hey Dad, what do you think? I might give them a little bit like, well, I think it depends. What do you think? And throw it right back to them, just to make sure they don't have something else to say about it. And then if they ask again, then I know they're a little more open to it. So that's where my brain goes.
That's such a good word, Carlton. Thank you so much for that. Our next question is for you, Jackie. And really, when we think about this, it feels like the students today and many of the younger generation get a little bit of a bad rap. You know, we label them as snowflakes. We talk about their safe places and where they need all of these things to go and be. And you started this thing off by saying, my 3 words is God made emotions. And in many circles, we tend to minimize emotions or to degrade or label our current students who have those emotions. So when you think about these emotions, how do you recommend our parents help students process their emotions in a way that blesses them and doesn't curse them, in a way that affirms them and doesn't minimize them, and doesn't create an environment of shame, but really does create a safe place where they can feel and experience the emotions God made?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things that I try to do for my kids and my clients is to be able to normalize lots of the experiences that they're going through. I think as Christians, I hear this so much. It's so disheartening. I'm not supposed to feel this way, or I'm not supposed to be depressed, or I'm not supposed to fear, or I'm not supposed to feel all of these emotions that are absolutely rampant in the Bible. And so I often, have the joy of telling my Christian clients, have you read the Bible? Have you read the Psalms? Do you know how many Psalms of vengeance? Those are my favorite. And so to be able to normalize so many of the emotions that kids have, and not be, as parents, triggered by those emotions is going to be really important. And I just couldn't tag along more with what Carlton has said. The art of listening is being able to hear your kids say crazy things and kind of not be in your head like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard,
Not freak out.
Yeah.
Don't freak out.
Exactly. Yeah. So
that's your 3 words. Don't freak out. God made emotions. Love their socks off. Yes.
Yeah, so being able to normalize and self-regulate our own triggers as parents, because no one triggers us most as the people who love us the most. We are going to be most triggered by spouses, by children, by the people closest to us, because they will know our buttons. So as a parent, we get to model what it is to self-regulate. And when we self-regulate, we can provide a safe space for kids to say all the crazy things that will inevitably enter their heads. So I think that's the most important thing as far as being able to provide a safe place.
Absolutely. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm sitting here, I'm already triggered, because I'm not gonna not freak out when I hear crazy stuff. So what are some things that I can do when I'm freaking out in my head that my body won't show my freak out?
Yeah, so deep breathing. Counselors are big on deep breathing. Also, you don't have to, if you feel like you can't self-regulate, oh, well, let's have this conversation over some ice cream, or can I talk to you later about this? So if at the moment you are freaking out, then that means that you get to figure out a time when you can think about it, pray about it, and give yourself time to be ready. So it doesn't have to be right at that moment, although it's preferable to attend it at that moment. But at the moment, just breathe and know that whatever crazy is happening to all the kids and all the parents.
Can I add one?
You can.
I don't even like my 3 words now, because don't freak out. I mean, that's silly. We're all going to freak out. when our kids tell us stuff. But I think sometimes we can just name it, like with our kids, just to be honest with them. Like, there's a part of me that is totally freaking out right now, but I really want to hear you right now, and I really want you to keep going. And sometimes just naming that inside of myself helps me regulate, helps me and God get on the same page, and allows the child or the kid or the teenager the space to keep going.
So all of me's freaking out right now. I'm going to need a minute. Is that what I'm going to say? Yeah, absolutely. So you can name it. You can take a minute. How can we prepare ahead of time to maybe have a resource or two to call on when we reach into these moments? And so what would that look like? And maybe, you hear something, Jackie, that you're freaking out about. How could we kind of have like one of those emergency preparedness kits?
So one of the things that I rely on when I'm freaking out about my kid are my friends who've already gone through phases of childhood. I'm so blessed with a friend group who's already gone through so many of the things that I've gone through. So I rely a lot on the social support around me. That's one of the big things I use.
Yeah, I think that's so good that we would have friends and people in our lives who have gone through this and know that it's not the end of the world, that things happen in many different ways across different kids, and when you have multiple kids, they're all going to do multiple things that are going to freak us out, and have us name it and have those resources. And that's such a good word, Jackie. Thank you so much for that. And we're going to have time later after the kids, the students come and join us, and we have that session. After that, we're going to do a Q&A. So please be writing down all those things that you're thinking about that I'm not asking right now, and that you want to know. And we're going to have about 25 minutes at the end of this for your questions. So please be doing that. We're going to turn to Lynn now. And Lynn, as we think about this idea of that's not fair. You did it when you were a kid. Why can't I do that? You know, and I don't know why. I mean, I want to answer this for you. Don't tell your kids stuff you did. You didn't. The internet didn't exist. They don't need to know. That's the one place the commandment "do not lie" doesn't apply. I'm kidding. It's still there, Exodus 20. It didn't get marked out, even with Jesus. So Lynn, your kid comes to you and says, "I want to do X, Y, Z," and you say, not happening. And they say, "But you did it. You told me you did it." What do you do in that space?
I think that I got to think about these questions ahead of time, but I would say I think that you misunderstood when you heard the story about me running away from the policeman after he pulled me over, jumped out of the car. I don't know what it is.
Time out for a second. Tell us the story about the time you got chased by a police officer. No, I'm kidding.
There were a lot.
Sounded like a good story. I don't know. I wanted to hear it. It sounded like a good story.
I want to tell you that my qualification for being here is I work with teenagers for over 40 years, both in the ministry of Young Life and then also in the church. So mine is more experience. I've had a lot of classes, but I don't have a lot of degrees that go with it. So
you practiced a lot with Young Life.
I practiced being a great friend to adolescents and parenting 2 boys. So
yes,
there you go.
100%.
But what I would say is I think you misunderstood me telling you about that story. And the reason why I don't want you to do it is because it's something that didn't build me up, didn't help me accomplish the goal of glorifying God. And if that word doesn't make sense, I would say it didn't put me further down the road into becoming the person I wanted to become, and I don't think it would do that for you either. But let's talk about it. Always go deeper. As you all were talking about, how do you handle tough questions and calm the person inside that's going wild, is just train yourself to say, tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. And then do the old mirror back what they're saying. Well, I hear you saying, but to ask the question, why do you want to do this? Why do you want to go out and, egg the principal's house. What's going on the inside? And I think if we can get underneath the actions to the purpose of why they're doing it, or, well, they may say, I feel like I'm on the outside of my friend group, and if I do this, then they're gonna think I'm cool. Well, tell me more about that. How are you feeling on asking those questions to go deeper, and all the while pray, not only love their socks off, but pray like a mad dog, because you want to know what God thinks you need to say, the question you need to ask. And I'm always praying while I'm talking. I wear a little ring on my pinky finger that reminds me to pray first, pray first, pray first, because I'm silly. I forget. I should know pray first, but I don't always. So I have this little reminder here that tells me that all the time. And the Lord promises us wisdom, right? He says, I will give you the wisdom you need. So, Holy Spirit, show me what to do. Show me what to say. Calm this craziness going inside my head that I want to slap my kid right now. Not that I would ever think that. But
None of us have ever thought that. This is being recorded.
I never slap my children. I spank them, but I never slap them. Okay.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Sorry.
All right, everybody yell out really loud those things you wanted to do but only thought about. No, don't do that. Don't do that. So you mentioned something in your statement called a mirror back. I wonder if we could get you guys to, kind of show us that, give us an example of that. Who would like to, can you guys mirror back one another and show the group what that looks like?
So what I heard you say is that you should go deeper and ask your kids, well, tell me more about that. Mirror back is just paraphrasing, repeating what you think you heard.
Yeah, what you think you heard. And they can clarify. That gives them an opportunity, again, to talk and you to listen. So that's always
a good follow-up question after you've mirrored is, did I get that? That gives them the chance to change it, and it lets their brain develop. And then another step you can go, if you want to go even farther, is you can really validate what they said. Doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but you can validate what they just told you, right? So that makes sense to me. I can understand how you feel that way, those kind of things.
Yeah. And I would just say, if you as a family can sit down and write down, what are our goals as a family? Together, not just you and your spouse or you. Together do that and agree upon it, and then you can refer back to that. Okay, well, our goal as a family is to do this. Does this fit into that? Well, no, it doesn't. Well, so you go on with that conversation. Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah, so moving into family values like Carlton was talking about, like how do we set forth those values ahead of time so that we're all working in the same kind of sandbox under the same rules of engagement, and then we have guidelines and guardrails for what actually the behavior would fit in, and does this fit into the family values we agreed to that we set together? I think that's wonderful. And if I can just circle around to the mirror back, because I think as a parent, that feels a little inauthentic to me. Like if I hear my son say, I want to go roll the principal's yard, as for your example, he would never say that.
They did.
They did. See? And so he's 14, I'm hoping. Like, I'm not going to speak it, but if I say to him, what I hear you saying is, you want to go do this, and then he says something, and I say, do I get that? And then it goes back in, well, I can understand why you would want to do that. It feels like I've just patronized him and agreed with him. So help me go a little bit deeper into that technique so we can do it authentically and not freak out and own it.
Go ahead.
So one of the things, like, if you be your son and you say, I want to go roll just role play it with me, Eric. Role play it with me.
So I'm going to be a cool 14-year-old here.
Yeah, you're cool.
Yeah, I'm cool.
I feel
Look at my
you.
socks. Look at these. These
Wow.
are great socks. Y'all see those? Best socks in the house.
Those are the best socks in the house.
Right on.
There.
All right. So what's up, Dad? I want to go roll the principal's yard.
You want to go roll what?
The principal's yard.
You want to go roll the principal's yard. What's up with that?
Well, it's the senior prank.
Okay. So all the seniors?
All the cool ones with really nice socks.
All the cool seniors. Yeah. So you want to be cool?
I'd like to be.
Yeah. You don't think you are?
Not really.
Right. So
I mean,
now,
I'd like to fit in more.
so we'll pause the role play, right?
Okay.
But see, all of a sudden we're getting into, it ain't about the principles. It ain't about the rolling. It's about being cool, right? And all that came from me just being curious, me reflecting what you were saying, and we're just role playing it, right? And it gets even deeper with kids. Like you could just keep that going, and so then I get a chance to validate his desire to be cool,
Yeah.
and his want to be cool. That's something I can really validate, rather than validating a delinquent behavior necessarily.
Absolutely.
And I would say, if you're loving your kids, spending time with them, laughing together, playing with them, and Young Life, we use this term, earning the right to be heard. And I think even as parents, you can have hard conversations easier when you've had fun with your kids, when you've laughed together. It just is the whole of life. They know that you're committed to their whole person. And so to ask a question like that isn't going to be as strange or invasive because you've spent that time together, you've bonded, they know that you're for them. So it's not like, back off, you don't care about me. They can't say that because they know you do.
Yeah.
Deep somewhere in there. They may feel it for the moment, like, Dad, you're not going to make me, or Mom, you're not going to make me a cool person by me not going, but they get it, that you love them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I felt like that Carlton just did a Jedi mind trick on me. So I'm going to have to recover from that. But it goes really deep, really fast, because the heart of that action really was, in that instance, to want to be accepted and to be validated and to be what other people would call them. And you were able to get to that in an authentic way just by asking questions and being willing to listen. And just in those few interactions, and you know your kids better than anyone when you spend that time with them and earn that right and know what's going on with them and know how they want to be validated and identified. And you, when they may say, this is really out of character for you. Why would you want to go roll a yard? You've never wanted to do this before. Red flag. Like, why, what's driving that behavior? What's behind that they've never wanted to do it before and it suddenly has come up? When my 14-year-old starts combing his hair and wearing cologne and dressing nicely, the first question is what?
What's her name?
What's her name? And inevitably, there's an answer. And then when he stops doing all those things, I don't make him do it again because I know that what's her name has gone away. And so just protecting him as long as I can to be a child. But as we go through, one of the things Lynn said, we're going to finish up with this and we're going to welcome the students back in for worship here, is that we are for our kids. You're here tonight because you are for your kids. Just like God the Father is for you and you are his son or daughter, we are for our kids. So I'm going to give you an opportunity right now to raise your hand if you're for your kids. Go ahead and raise them high. All right. Now we just show them we're for them by loving their socks off, praying like a mad dog, understanding that God makes emotions and we have them too, and we're going to own those things. Any last words before we move into worship, before the kids and the students join us? We're going to finish it up there for the first section tonight, and we're going to have just a brief break and let the students come in, and then we're going to continue with a time of worship and additional questions. Thank you all. Go ahead.
Do you like Dino Nuggies?
Do I like Dino Nuggies? Nuggies? Or Noogies? You want a Noogie? Or are you asking me about Dino Nuggets?
It's chicken. They put it in a nugget and bread. You wouldn't.
I wouldn't. It's very important. Okay. So if I tell you that they only make one kind of nugget and it's dino, I would be right, correct? No. All right. They make more than one type? Because I only eat the dino ones. Ah, see, all right. So did I pass the first question that dino nuggies are the... There's one more type.
Peel off the skin of your nuggets.
Do you peel the skin of your nuggets? You don't have to peel the skin of your nugget if you dip it in enough ketchup that you don't taste it. What do you put on your nugget? Buffalo sauce? Chick-fil-A sauce? All right. So this is not what we're here to talk about tonight. We have devolved into a chicken nugget battle. All right. And we have great sound effects. So Ethan got you going with a little bit, but you know, summer's coming, guys. And when summertime, we're going to go swimming and we're going to have a lot of fun, and you got to know how to play the various games. And so as the panelists come up, we're going to play a game of Marco Polo. You guys come on up, and I'm going to say, Marco! They'll never find you. Marco! Parents only, Marco! Parents only again, Marco! All right, students, let's show the parents how it's done. Marco! That's right. All right, good job. All right, and just for the questions tonight, I say dino, you say nuggets. Dino! All right. We're sponsored by Dino Nuggets, and these guys here tonight are for you, and they're here to help answer some questions that you might have, but don't really have a place that you could ask them, or maybe you're too scared or afraid for the answer, or, you know, like you've heard somebody else have this question. And so we want to create a place for you tonight where we're going to ask them some questions we've pre-prepared that we know that are on your minds. And we hope that it will give you some ways to reach out and in to your parents and to each other, to work through some things that can be really hard in life. And so we're going to introduce our panelists. We're going to start with Carlton. Carlton, take just a minute and introduce yourself. And we got a meme on the screen of Baby Yoda. All right, it says mental health is just as important as physical health, and that's the T. All right, tell us who you are and why that's correct.
All right, so can I ask you one question first, Eric?
It's Dino Nuggets. No, go ahead.
Does anybody know why the math book went and got some help?
Well, I don't know why.
Because it was full of problems.
Right on, Dad.
That's for all the dads out there.
Love it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I like the knee slaps.
Right on, Dad.
I am a dad, so you guys can complain to my kids later. But
yes.
I am a dad, but I'm also a counselor. I work in Kernersville as a counselor. I work with kids and teens and families and adults and all kind of folks. So, can everybody raise their favorite hand? Everybody just raise your favorite hand.
Yeah.
We'll analyze why that you raise that hand later. But I want you to take that hand and put it on the back of your neck. Put it right there on the back of your neck. So that right there, what's underneath your hand, what is underneath your hand is why Yoda is correct that mental health and physical health are so important, because there's a stream. It's called your spine. It goes up and down. It connects your brain to your body. So your body to your brain. And it goes both ways, but that's really important. And that's the way God made you, with that spine to connect both. And both are really, really important, and they affect each other. So that would be why I think Yoda is correct.
Wow, man, that's fire, Carlton. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Everybody just found out where your neck is. That's great. And see us later. If you weren't able to do that exercise on the front row, you know who you are. Second panelist is Miss Jackie. Jackie, would you introduce yourself and tell us why Yoda is right?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Jackie Chan.
My name is Jackie Vasquez, and I'm also a counselor. I think Yoda is right because I recently had a conversation with a young man who said that he had had the most horrible day of his life. And when I asked him why he had the most horrible day of his life, he said that he could not control all of the boogers that were coming out of his nose.
What?
And so
You're making that up.
I am not making
Okay.
that up. I would say that there is not a lot of separation between physical ailments and mental ailments. It's really hard to separate your physical from your ailment. One will almost always likely affect the other. And
Yes.
that's the T.
And that's right. That's the T. That's what's up. I'm just got a picture in my mind of this kid just having lots of boogers hanging out. Ugh, man. I say booger, you say Kleenex. Booger. Booger. Okay, just making sure you're paying attention. All right, Lynn. This has gone crazy in here tonight. And they're all about it. And we're trying to help them have some ways to cope with mental health. Tell us about yourself and why Yoda is right.
There you go. There you go. My name is Lynn Brewer. Thrilled to be here. Have hung out for maybe over 40 years with middle school, high school, and college students, and still am doing that. So I just love people, always have. And I think the reason why Yoda is right is the thing that makes us different from all the animals is we have the ability to reason. We can think. So let's use the brain that we've been given and not just react to things like animals do. That's why I think Yoda's right.
Right on. Well, I agree with all of you that Yoda is correct, that mental health is just as important as physical health, and if you take care of your physical body, you need to take care of your mind. And we're going to try to help you do that tonight. And we have a visitor tonight. We have the Hang in There cat. Can we see the Hang in There cat? All right. He's visiting us tonight. So, Jackie, first question goes to you. We all want to be the Just Hang in There cat. But how do you recognize and help us understand when we should ask for help? And is there a such thing as healthy sadness? And what is normal self-talk?
So one of the fastest ways that I know to ask for help is when I don't know what to do, or when I hear something and my emotions react immediately. That's one of the ways that I know it's time to ask for help. Is there healthy sadness? Yes, there is healthy sadness. I often have people in my office say things like, I'm going through X situation, I'm going through a divorce, and I need to know how to feel better. And my answer is, well, you're not going to feel better. You're going through a difficult situation, and a difficult emotion is warranted. So yes, there is normal and healthy sadness. And what is normal self-talk? I would usually think about, it's easier to think about what is abnormal self-talk, because most of our self-talk is going to be normal. You know, the word says that there's nothing new under the sun. So most of the things that we experience and that we go through, someone has already gone through. And so I tend to normalize many things.
That's wonderful. So how would I know when my self-talk, and what I imagine self-talk to be is this voice I have in my head that keeps telling me things? How do I recognize when that voice is not doing what it's supposed to be, and maybe I should ask a parent for help?
Yeah, when it's leading you to unhealthy behaviors, we have a lot of thoughts that can sometimes be unhealthy. If you have a lot of negative self-talk, where, oh, I'm just trash, or I'm not, I'm so stupid, or I always do things wrong. If you have a lot of negative self-talk and it leads to negative outcomes, whether emotionally or behaviorally, you're going to want to ask someone some help for that.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just like you have a random thought one time. We're talking about the regular occurrence of these thoughts coming in, or should we be reaching out for the one-time weird thought that pops in our head?
If it's a one-time weird thought and it has little to no effect on you emotionally or physically or behaviorally, I would probably not reach out for that. But if it is a constant thought and it comes up in lots of situations with lots of people, and it does have a big effect on how you feel or behave or see the world, I would get help for that.
Yeah, and you started this with our parents, and you said your 3 words were God-made emotions. And so what I hear you saying is when you have this self-talk in your head, if it shifts your emotions, that's definitely an indication that you might want to talk to somebody about that. Is that true?
Yeah, that's right. God did make emotions, and they are useful given different situations. But sometimes emotions can be out of order. So, for instance, when I talked to the young man about having the worst day ever because his allergies were acting up, I asked that young man, well, can you put that in a different context? Because to me, the worst day ever would be something really catastrophic happening. So I like to take an emotion and put it in a more healthy context. Like, it might be frustrating to deal with allergies, but maybe not necessarily the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, and it's helpful then, in that case, he had you to speak to help him process those situations. And that's, you guys have other people to speak to. You have your parents and maybe like Jackie who does therapy for folks. That's okay. That's what they're there for, to have these conversations with you to help you process things, because, hey, you're growing up, and when you grow up, things happen to you that are new and unexpected, and we don't know what to do with them, and that's a perfect time to go to someone and ask. And I wonder, Lynn or Carlton, would you have anything to add on the self-talk conversation?
I would just say, like, it's a relationship with yourself kind of thing. Like, and the way you do that is by learning from other folks. So going and asking for help, there's no shame in that. And here's the other thing, like, if you've already asked for help and you haven't gotten it, keep asking. Don't stop asking until you get the help you need. Just keep after it. It's one of those things that God's providing somebody out there for you, I believe. So just keep asking would be my encouragement.
Absolutely. Lynn, would you add anything to that?
I don't think so.
All right, well, we're going to move to Lynn for our next question, and our next meme is Kermit the Frog, right? And any of you guys have cell phones? No? Any of you guys ever seen a text message before? Instagram, Snapchat, any of those things? No, all y'all use phones and call each other, right? No? Okay, all right. Yeah, so we live in a world where when you reach out to somebody who's supposed to be your friend, you expect an immediate response. No matter what time of day it is, we're always connected, and if our friend doesn't respond immediately, well, then they fell off the face of the earth. Something must be wrong. They must not be my friend anymore, is what our minds can go to. And sometimes we might be the only friend of someone, and Lynn, that friend might be putting a lot on us. And so when can we know in that situation that we need to tell someone else? And how do we address, like, betraying their confidence?
Well, friends always want your best interest if they're really a friend. They care about you and they want you to be healthy. And when you feel a friend putting too much pressure on you and trying to control you, you have to come to my house every weekend. You can't talk to these other people. You need to back off, but also you need to tell your parents that this friend is putting pressure on you. I talked to a friend today, and a friend of theirs told their daughter to be mean to this other friend so she would no longer like her, so she would just be this girl's friend, okay? If somebody's bullying you, saying mean things to you, doing mean things to you, don't let that go on. Tell your parents. God has given you a parent or parents or grandparents to help you, to protect you, to walk with you and help you figure things out, and use that. They're for you. They're not against you. So don't be afraid to say, I'm not sure about this, but this doesn't feel right to me. Or they're pressuring you to do things like that you know aren't right. You need to talk to your parents and let them know that. But don't not talk about it and don't do what they want you to do necessarily. And the confidentiality piece, they're saying, well, I'm going to tell you a secret, but you can't tell anybody. Don't promise that you won't ever tell anybody, because if they're talking about self-harm, I had friends when I was in middle school and high school that talked about hurting themselves, and I didn't know what to do with that. And I did promise them that I wouldn't tell anybody, and then I was backed into a corner and I couldn't get out. So start by just saying, I'll really try not to, but I can't promise that.
Yeah, that's a really good word, Lynn. And it's really hard when you want to be friends with somebody. And when you want to be friends, it's easy to allow yourself to want to step into places that you shouldn't go. So what are some ways that we could maybe still be friends with someone and get out of the situation? Are there some phrases or some ways that we could interact with them that we could always have like in our back pocket, like, hey, I want you to go do this, and you could help them with a tool?
That's a great question. Y'all have any thoughts?
So one of the thoughts when you think about suicide and when you think about self-harm, and if you have a friend that tells you they're thinking about those things, it's kind of like if there was a fire in the sanctuary. I hope you guys would not try to put it out, but would call the fire department, right? Everybody would call 911. So if somebody's talking about suicide or self-harm, it's the same kind of thing. There's a few of us that are trained to take care of that and take care of those parts of those people. And if you're not trained, it's okay to call for help and help them get somewhere for help. And that may require telling somebody, breaking a secret, or but sometimes explaining it in that kind of way, like, look, this is really, really important. This is an emergency. And so I need to tell somebody, can sometimes keep the friend, but also get some help on your side as well.
Mm-hmm. And I think saying, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't really want to do that. It's okay to say no. That's a good word. And if it's scary to say no to your friends, stand in front of the mirror and look in the mirror and go, no, no, no. I'm a people pleaser. I want to make people happy and smile, and I just had to stand in front of the mirror and go, no, no. I'd rehearse different scenarios, and I'd go, no, I don't want to do that. You want to smoke drugs? No, I don't want to do drugs. No, I don't want to go 1,000,000 miles an hour in a car down a dirt road. No. So I had to prepare myself by rehearsing conversations before they happened or what I thought would possibly happen.
And that's a good point. If you know some situations that might come up and know how you want to respond to them before they do, you're more likely to have that response. And so what Lynn is saying is, there are certain things that are typical, and if you already know your answer is no, and you've practiced that and it's in your head, then in the moment it becomes a reaction of no. And it's like, oh, what did I just say? I just said no. That's really good. And I want to circle back to something you said, Carlton, because one of the things that they may be thinking is, if I tell, something bad is going to happen to my friend, and they're my friend. I don't want something bad to happen. So tell me what happens if I tell you about my friend.
So the way I like to think about that is something bad might happen to your friend, but if your friend is telling you something having to do with suicide or self-harm, something bad is already happening to your friend. and they're needing the help to get out of that, whether they know it or not. So usually the bad thing that happens is less bad than what might happen if someone doesn't come in and help.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Lynn, did you have something you wanted to add?
Well, I was just going to say that I 100% agree with that, and just the caveat to say, I really care about you. And I don't want that, I don't want something bad to happen to you. You know, because they'll go, you don't care about me. And you go, no, I really do care. And telling the truth to somebody about what's going on is really important. Telling the truth, y'all, is always the right way.
Yeah, and do you guys have any examples, I hope you do, of my next question, is when someone has shared with you about someone needing help and they've gotten that help, have they ever gone back to the person who shared it and said, thank you for sharing this, I wouldn't have got the help otherwise?
Yeah, but it was much later in life.
Yes, yeah, so that's right.
It might take, which seems like a lifetime to you. You know, it could take 5 years, 10 years
Yep.
for them to realize. But yeah, I've had a lot of folks come back to me and say, thanks for telling me the truth
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
myself, or thanks for helping me find a counselor that could really help me. Thanks for pointing me to this person or that person. It makes a difference. And I think parents, it's helpful for you to help your teenagers know that you are a safe place to come with these secrets that feel overwhelming about friends, or especially bullying or things like that. It hurts you so deep down inside and you want to hide it. But it's really important that you too reach out and say, I need help.
Yeah, so it's maybe not in the moment. They may not love you for it right then, but if you're really their friend and they need help, then you're going to go get them that help, because that's what friends do. And you as a student are not prepared to handle these conversations, but there are people who love you in your house that are, and there are friends at this church and student ministries and our leadership and our pastors that are here, and we love you and we are for you. And if we can help you or your friends, we want to do that. We want to give you the tomorrow that is better, even if today has to be a little bit grimy. Because sometimes the truth is a little bit unsettling and hard, but it leads to a tomorrow for that person they might not have had. So always, as Lynn said, cherish that truth. Find the person you trust, your parent, your student ministries leader, your pastor, to share it with, and get your friend or yourself the help that's needed. Because help is there, and people do love you. And so we're going to take this next question to Carlton, and we've got our friend technology up on the screen. And I'm just going to give you some stats, guys. You guys ready for this? We put them to sleep. You guys ready for this?
Yes!
I feel like I need some music up here. Okay, so, all right, listen up. I'm not going to do the math for you, but you can do it later. There are 3.4 million emails sent per second. Okay? 740,000 WhatsApp messages per second. 68,542 Google searches, the source of this stat machine. 54,000 Facebook posts per second. 5.7 thousand tweets per second, 4.6 thousand Snapchats per second, 4.5 thousand text messages per second, 694 Instagram posts per second. And all that time, we just had 9.4 million emails sent. Just then, Carlton. So how are we going to help our students process all of the information and data on Snapchat and Facebook and email and Instagram and what are y'all using these days? TikTok? Are y'all TikToking? I don't know, Snapchatting? What y'all doing? What? TikTok. Okay, we got one person on TikTok. Ethan Mathis is still writing letters by hand. Carlton's using Telegraph, and Jackie's got an 8-track. But I may have some CDs in my car.
I have an 8-track.
Oh, Lynn has the 8-track.
Don't put that
And we got a person on front row with a fax machine. I don't know what's happening there, but she's my new favorite person. A 3D printer, yeah, absolutely. So Carlton, we got a lot coming at us, and our students have all this technology, and it's bombarding them. What do we do with that? And how do we clear their minds and help their emotions that change minute to minute?
Yeah, I'm not sure I have the perfect answer for that necessarily, but have any of you students ever had your parents tell you to turn the game off or tell you to turn your phone off?
Yes.
That's happened? Do you have any idea why your parents would tell you to do that? To go to bed, yeah.
They love you.
I like that.
That's always the right answer.
Yeah.
I think there's something about a person's brain that's not fully developed until your mid-20s. So there's a part of your brain that's not fully developed, and it's kind of like a filter. So it has this role of filtering what comes in our eyes and in our ears and in our nose and all kind of different places where we receive information, and that filter isn't fully developed. So that's why parents will tell you to turn it off after a certain amount of time to give your brain the chance to reset and that kind of thing. But it's also, we let you have those things so that you can practice that filtering, because it takes practice. It's like riding a bike. It takes practice before you learn how to ride a bike. And that filtering of what you're seeing and what you're getting from this world and from TikTok takes real practice to figure out what you want to keep and what you want to let go. So that would be my best answer at this point.
That's a really good answer. And what do you mean by what you want to keep and what you want to let go? So we're seeing all these things, all these videos, we're watching stuff on YouTube, whatever. Help me understand the keep, let go part.
So I don't know if you've ever had something in a movie or a TV show or on TikTok just stick in your brain, and like you remember it over and over, and you might even dream about it, or you might, yeah, unfortunately, amen, yeah. And that kind of stuff can stick in your brain, and it's these people that make TikTok and Instagram and Facebook, they're great people, but you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to make money. And the more time they can get your eyeballs onto their screen, the more money they make, right? And so that's all they're in it for. They're not in it to protect your brain or to protect your heart. And it's still connected, right? So just the more you can filter out what you want to keep, i.e. what you want to stick in your brain, and more importantly, what you want to stick in your heart, you'll learn to have the power to do that over and over again. Does that answer your question?
I think that's a great answer, but I've got a problem.
Go.
I saw it and I can't unsee it. And I don't want to keep it, but I can't let it go. Fix me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where you want to go for help. So like Jackie was saying earlier, whether that's prayer ministry on Sunday morning, whether that's talking to your youth group leader, talking to a pastor, talking to a counselor, right? Talking to your parents, but talk about it, use your mouth, right? Be honest with yourself, be honest with the Lord, be honest with somebody close to you that you can trust. Keep talking about it until you're able to let it go.
That's really good. Jackie, what would you add?
Being able to take that thing that stuck with you and think about what you might need to replace it with something healthier, because the brain doesn't work in a vacuum. So if there's something in there, it has to be replaced with something else, and work has to be done to figure out what that replacement needs to be. It has to be as equally powerful as the image that got stuck in your head to begin with. And like Carlton said, that's sometimes when prayer is needed. So I would say,
yeah, and the Word of God, I mean, there's power, right? And it can replace, just like Jackie's saying.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. We really appreciate those answers. And as we get ready to dismiss the students, and have the Q&A with the parents, is there any wisdom we'd give our students as they're departing?
I would say that there's a connection between a lot of technology use and the inability to have a great attention span. There's a connection between a lot of technology use and increase in depression. There's a connection between a lot of technology use and feelings of loneliness. So a lot of technology use is not actually doing you anything as good as you think it is. So I would think about those connections, that thing that you're enjoying so much is actually not as enjoyable as having a connection with a friend face to face or going outside, doing other things. And so you have to learn, like he said, to compare what is going to do me the greater good.
That's a good word. Lynn, any parting comments?
Life is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And live life and don't just look at it.
Wow.
Get out there. Like Jackie just said, interact with your friends. Go for a walk. I mean, technology and all these things, TikTok is all mimicking what how life can happen to you face to face. So just do that.
Live life, don't just look at it. I love it. I love it. Carlton, give them a few words before we send them off.
Yeah, just say amen to what Lynn said, and y'all keep living, keep talking, find somebody you can trust, and don't stop. Just keep it going.
Absolutely. Well, students, we have enjoyed having you in here. We're going to dismiss you now. Mr. Ethan Mathis, thank y'all so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Big hand for our panelists. Keep clapping as you go. No, not get them out?
If you're a student, don't run out that door just yet, okay? First, say thank you to our